the next step is to create the attribute domains. Now, geodatabase attribute domains restrict the values for a field to a list or range of specified values. So we need to create the attribute domains at the geodatabase level and assign them at the field level. Let's begin by creating our attribute domains. Select and right-click on your project file geodatabase and select Domains. And this opens up both the domains view, where we can create and manage domains, but also activates the domains ribbon as well. And under domain name, I'm going to click in that first cell and enter in the first domain, which you can find in figure 11 of the SAL. It's land_cover, all caps, and the description is going to be land cover type. The field type is going to be consistent with the island's land cover field, which is going to be a short integer field. So under field type, I'm going to select short integer. And then for domain type, it's either coded value or range domain, and we'll select coded value domain. We'll leave the split and merge policies set to the default. I'm going to go ahead and resize some of these columns so I can see my codes and descriptions. And then now I'm going to click in the first cell under code there, and I'm going to enter in the codes and descriptions again from figure 11 of the statement of work. So my first code is 1 and my description is forest, and I'm going to click enter. Next up is 2 and mountains, 3 and swamp, 4 jungle, 5 sand, 6 grass, and 7 rocks. And then the green symbols tell me that I need to save my domain. And so if you look at the domain ribbon, the save button is activated. I need to go ahead and click on it to save my changes to my schema. All right, so that created my first domain. Now I need to create my next domain. It's going to be a location coded value domain. And I can do that again in the domains view. Under the domain name there, I'm going to enter in to that next cell, all uppercase location. The description is story location. The field type is going to be text. Again, it's going to be a coded value domain. And then refer to figure 11 for the codes and descriptions. The first one's going to be BC, and the description is going to be Bear Canyon. And so notice the codes are 2 digits, and the descriptions, of course, are longer. CC and Crocodile Creek. I'm just going to enter in all of the codes and the descriptions. All the way to SR and Skull Rock. And of course, I need to delete my empty code and description at the end. And check all my codes and descriptions to make sure they're correct. You can go back and edit them, but it's better to get them right the first time. And then once you've confirmed they're correct, go ahead and click on the Save button on the Domains ribbon. Now, if you want to review your other domains, you just click on it, and there you can see the land cover domain, and there's the location domain that we've created. Now we need to create one more domain. This last one is going to be a range domain named number, all uppercase. The description is outcome number. The field type is going to be a short integer, which is consistent with the field that we created in the standalone tables. The domain type is going to be set to range domain. Go ahead and accept the split and merge policy defaults, and we're going to set the minimum to 1 and the maximum to 4. Again, we need to go on the domains ribbon and click the Save button to save our changes to the domains and the geodatabase schema. And there you can see we've created the land cover, location, and number domains. Next up, we need to assign the attribute domains to the fields to which they're going to restrict the values. And so we've created them at the geodatabase level, and now we're going to assign them at the individual feature class and table field level. So I'm going to expand my game schema, select and right-click my islands feature class, and select design and fields. And in my fields view, you can see there's my land cover field, and all the domains are empty. I'm going to click in the empty cell there and select the correct domain. In this case, it's going to be land cover. Now, I've changed the schema, so you can see the little green there, and on the fields ribbon under changes group, I need to click the save button to commit the changes to my data schema to my geodatabase. Now I'm going to advance the video, but I want you to use the same process in the settings that's specified in the statement of work to assign the attribute domains for the dots feature class and the John Darling, Michael Darling, Peter Pan, and Wendy Darling standalone tables. At this point, I've assigned all my attribute domains as specified in the statement of work. Next, you need to create the feature subtypes. Geodatabase feature subtypes are a subset of features in a feature class or objects in a table that share the same attributes. They are used to categorize your data and allow you to apply different rules and relationships to individual subtypes, rather than a single set of rules and relationships to an entire feature class. We'll begin in Catalog by right-clicking on the dots feature class and selecting Design and Subtypes. In the Subtypes view, you can see there are no subtypes, but we need to click on the Create Manage button that's in the Active Subtype ribbon. So there you can see the Create Manage button. I'm going to click on it, and that opens up the Manage Subtypes window. First thing I need to do is select my subtype field. We've already created it. It's called Type. It's a short integer field. And then now we're ready to enter in our subtypes, our codes and our descriptions. So those are going to be a short integer and a description. And we'll start with 1, and the description will be small star. The next subtype is going to be 2, large star. Then 3, small spot. And 4, large spot. Now it looks like I have a little blank code and description there. I need to delete that and check all my subtypes to make sure they're correct and click OK to create my subtypes. There you can see in the subtypes view, it's created my subtypes on the type field. And so if you see the type is bold, that means that's the subtype. And there are my codes 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1 is assigned to small star, 2 is assigned to large star, 3 to small spot, and 4 to large spot. And because we have subtypes, now we can assign domains to the individual subtypes because we've split them out. Now, we need domains for the large star and large spot, but not for the small star and small spot. So I'm going to go ahead and click on those drop downs and set those to null. All right, once you get your attribute domain set correctly for the subtypes, go ahead and click Save. And once your changes to the geodatabase schema have been saved, now we need to save our ArcGIS Pro project. So I'll click Save on the Quick Access toolbar. Now we're ready to create relationship classes. Geodatabase relationship classes manage associations between records in one feature class or table with records in another feature class or table. In Catalog, we'll right-click on the Game Schema feature dataset and select New and Relationship Class. This opens up the Create Relationship Class Geoprocessing tool, and the first thing we need to set is our origin table. So your players will click on the dot to access the outcomes in the standalone table. So we'll set the origin table to dots. We'll set the destination table to the first standalone table, John Darling. We'll set the output relationship class name, relationship type, forward and backward path labels, and the message direction, all to the default settings. And then we'll set the cardinality to 1 to many because there is one dot to many outcomes. So we're going to change the cardinality to 1 to many. Last, we need to set the field on which the relationship will be based. And it's going to be the location field. So for origin primary key, we're going to select location, and then origin foreign key, location as well. Click Run to create your relationship class. You can find your relationship class in the game schema feature dataset. There's the dots_John_Darling. And if you right click it and select properties, you can see the relationship class properties you use to create the relationship class, including the cardinality and the origin, primary, and foreign keys. Go ahead and click OK to exit the properties. Now repeat the above process 3 times to create additional relationship classes between the dots feature class and the Michael Darling, Wendy Darling, and Peter Pan standalone tables. All right, so I've skipped ahead. Now I've created all 4 relationship classes. You can see them listed there in the game schema feature dataset in the catalog pane. I'm going to go ahead and clean up the interface by closing the geoprocessing pane and closing all my extra views that I have open, except for the Neverland scene. I'm going to leave that one open. All right, so now at this point, we've created our physical data model with the schema, and we can see that in the catalog pane. There's our game schema feature data set, the dots, islands, and paths feature classes, as well as the John Darling, Michael Darling, Peter Pan, and Wendy Darling standalone tables, and the dots, John, Michael, Peter, and Wendy one-to-many relationship classes. Now that we've created our physical data model and data schema, we can verify that we did it correctly in the contents pane by right-clicking on the dots feature layer and selecting attribute table. And there you can see our fields and empty table, including the system object ID and shape field, the integer type field, the text label field with a length of 255, and the text location field with a length of 2. It is assigned to the location attribute domain, and it includes a one-to-many relationship between the dots and the John Darling, Peter Pan, Michael Darling, and Wendy Darling standalone tables based on the location field. Now, if we enter in a record, we can see how it works. So I'm going to click to add new row. You can see the subtypes automatically gives me a drop down, and I can select one of the options, small star. I could enter in a label and a location. Notice I don't get the attribute domain drop down for the location field. That's because we set it to null. But if I switch to large star and then I click in the location field, I get the attribute domain for all of the locations associated with the large stars. All right, so I want to click enter, but I don't want to save my record. So on the edit ribbon in the manage edits group, I'm going to click on discard because I want my dots feature class to be empty when I load my data into it. Go ahead and close the dots table view, save your ArcGIS Pro project. All right, this concludes summary task 2.